Okay, so check this out. I want you to picture something really simple, like a bag of potato chips just sitting on a table. Now imagine someone in that same room is talking, but the video you're watching is totally, completely silent. What if I told you that we could actually hear what that person is saying just by watching that bag of chips? I know it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's not. This is a real technology that can turn pretty much any everyday object into a secret microphone. So let's break down how it's even possible to listen with your eyes.
So yeah, that's the big question, right? How in the world can you get audio from a video that has no soundtrack, no microphone, absolutely nothing? Well, the answer isn't some kind of magic trick. It's actually hidden in plain sight, in these tiny, tiny movements that are happening all around us all the time. To really get how we can pull sound out of what looks like thin air, we need to do a super quick refresher on what sound is. See, it's not just this invisible thing we hear, it's a physical force. It's a wave of energy that literally moves the world around it, even if it's on a scale we can't see. At its most basic level, every single sound you've ever heard is just a vibration. When I talk, my vocal cords vibrate, and that pushes on the air particles right in front of them. Those particles bump into the particles next to them, which bump into the ones next to them. You get the idea. It's a chain reaction, a pressure wave that travels all the way to your ear. The key takeaway here is simple. Sound is movement. So let's just follow that journey for a second. Someone starts talking in a room. Those sound waves shoot out in all directions. And they don't just disappear, they smack into everything in their path. The walls, the table, and yep, that bag of chips. And when they hit that bag, they transfer a tiny amount of their energy to it, causing the surface of the bag to vibrate in perfect sync with the original sound.
Okay, so if every object is vibrating with the sounds around it, the next logical question is, how could we possibly detect those vibrations? I mean, they're completely invisible to us. Well, that is where some seriously clever technology comes into play. So, some researchers over at MIT developed this incredible algorithm they call a visual microphone. What it does is analyze a totally normal video file, and it looks for and amplifies these microscopic changes in the pixels from one frame to the next. These are changes that are way, way too small for you or me to ever notice. The algorithm basically turns every single pixel into its own super sensitive motion detector. And get this, they're not doing this with some special camera that's an inch away from the object. In their main experiment, they used a standard high-speed camera that was a full 15 feet away from that bag of chips. We're talking about the distance across a normal living room. But here's the real genius part of the experiment. To prove they weren't cheating, to prove they weren't picking up any stray audio, the researchers filmed the chip bag through soundproof glass. This is the ultimate test, right? It guarantees that the only thing reaching the camera is light. It forces that algorithm to work with nothing but the visual information. All right, so we have the science, sound makes things vibrate, and we have the technology, an algorithm that can see those invisible vibrations. So now it's time to put it all together and see what happens when we point this visual microphone at our silent little scene. So let's go back to the star of our show here. A person is speaking in the room, the sound waves are hitting the bag, and our camera, 15 feet away and behind soundproof glass, is just recording a silent video of it sitting there. And this slide just perfectly sums up the two different realities that are happening at the same time. On the left is what we see, a totally boring, silent video. But on the right, that's what the algorithm sees, a gold mine of data. It sees a surface that's trembling with the tiny, invisible echoes of human speech, and it can take those movements, those changes in pixels, and translate them back into a sound wave. As one of the lead researchers put it, this whole method allows them to recover the original speech, word for word, from a video that is completely 100% silent. They are, quite literally, listening with their eyes. So, in the experiment, the researchers played the tune "Mary Had a Little Lamb" into the room. They took the silent video of the chip bag, they ran it through the algorithm, and this is the audio it was able to reconstruct. Pretty incredible, right? I mean, yeah, it's a little muffled, but that tune is unmistakable. Rebuilding audio from a silent video is just a mind-blowing achievement. But, once we prove that something like this is possible, we have to start thinking about the consequences. And that opens up a really fascinating and honestly a kind of unsettling can of worms about privacy and surveillance. So here's the most important point. This was never really about the bag of chips. That was just the perfect object to use for the demonstration because it's so lightweight and vibrates really easily. But the principle applies to almost anything. Just look around you right now, wherever you are. See that potted plant in the corner? Its leaves are vibrating with the sound of my voice. The window, a box of tissues on your desk, even just a piece of paper sitting there. With the right camera and the right algorithm, any of these things that seem completely harmless could be turned into a listening device.
And all of this leaves us with a really profound question to chew on. We all worry about our phones or our smart speakers listening to us, but this technology suggests that in the future, a high-resolution camera pointed at your window from across the street could be all it takes to hear a conversation happening inside. It really forces us to ask, in a world where any object can become a microphone, what does privacy even mean anymore?